All right, Jim, so we actually received a question from the audience, and I've heard this before, but someone specifically asked us to address this comment, so I'm very happy to do that, to inform people in the that watch these videos about some common questions. So the question that was asked is, does wireless charging hurt your battery? And I think we know that the answer is no, not really, but it's a little bit more complicated than just saying that, so let's get a little bit into the nuance. There's two major elements that do harm or degrade your battery. The first and foremost is heat. So let's talk about heat, and then the second one is going to be the depth of discharging that you're doing and how you're cycling your battery. So let's just talk about those separately. Let's first start with heat. So what causes heat in any battery charging system, and how is wireless charging different than wired charging when it comes to heat?
Well, heat is really anything that is a waste of energy. As my old professor used to say in my university days, heat is the electrical engineer's waste paper basket. And as a result, any sort of inefficiencies that you have through, in this case, the charging process is going to generate heat. Heat tends to be bad for batteries and will ultimately degrade life. So although some of it is unavoidable, you don't want it to be excessive.
So does wireless charging generate significantly more heat than wired charging?
It can generate some more heat. I wouldn't say it's overly significant, but I think what's more interesting right now is the battery charging technology and the algorithms to do it are becoming much more smarter. Almost all products that do wireless charging have temperature sensors, and they'll typically do throttling back when they see the temperature going up to help prevent degradation of the battery. So it's kind of built into the system.
Yeah, and beyond just the temperature sensing, these systems that we and others are developing are being smart about the use case. So it might slow down charging at 3 a.m. in the morning when based on some machine learning tools, you know that the person's not going to wake up and be using their phone right now. It's okay to charge it at a slower rate versus if you're in an airport where you want it to be as fast rate charging as possible. So there's some intelligence being built into these platforms, not only related to thermal buildup to prevent that damage to the batteries, but also related to user experience and being smarter about when to go fast and when to go medium and when to go slow.
Yeah, I think it's something that users need to learn a little bit more on that, because I think there's an indication sometime that you wake up at 4 in the morning and you see your phone is charged to 60% or something, and you go, my wireless charger isn't working, when in fact it's because the machine learning algorithm knows you don't wake up until 7 o'clock, and so it's been throttling during that time back, and it's going to go ahead and turn things back on and top you off at 6 a.m.
So taking it back to the main question, is wireless charging harmful for batteries? It's really not, but it is a question of how you're managing it, and what we're developing and what we're seeing others in the industry doing is they're actually using wireless charging as a much smarter, more intelligent way of charging devices to even mitigate the heat even more so than you see in typical wired systems. Let's talk about the second thing though. So depth of discharge. What does that even mean, and why does that impact battery health?
Well, you think of your smartphone and you look at your little battery meter, and when you're down to 40, 30, 20%, the deeper you discharge, typically the more ultimately reduction you get in the battery cycles that the battery can have over its lifetime.
Okay, so deeper you discharge, so if you go from 100% down to 0% every day of the week, you're saying that's not good. It's better to go from 100% to 30%.
Yeah.
Okay.
So try to keep it around 50% or so, and maintain a level of charge where you don't go all the way down and have to come all the way back up. It tends to be safer for the ultimate battery life in terms of the amount of total cycles you're going to get over the life of the battery, and extend the life of the battery longer.
Gotcha. And so that's really independent of how you're charging it. That's just if you're using a battery, you don't want to do that deep discharge and full charge all the time. You'd like to keep it more topped off. So the interesting thing about wired versus wireless is that what user experience studies are showing is that people are more likely to do trickle charging with wireless chargers in their home, on their nightstand, on their end tables, at their office, in their car. So whereas if you were driving your car and you had to plug in your phone and it was already at 90%, there's a less likelihood that you'll actually take the time to plug in your phone than set it on the charger that's in the car. And so people are incentivized to keep their devices topped up more often when they have a place to put their phone at home, a place to put their phone in the office, a place to put their phone when they're driving. So I'd love to take technological credit for the battery health benefit that wireless charging brings, but it's really less about the technology and it's more about the user experience that's enabled by having these different charging stations located in the prominent places of your life. And the fact that people like me, that I use wireless charging, mostly in the offices and at home, I can't remember the last time, other than when I'm traveling, where I have any battery anxiety, because every time I leave the office, I'm at 100%. Every time I leave home, I'm at 100%, and I probably don't dip below 70% on any given day because I'm always between these different places.
To me, that's one of the biggest sea changes that I've seen in my smartphone usage over the last probably 5 to 7 years or so. Is I don't have that battery anxiety anymore. I'm used to stopping at a place, putting my phone down, and it's going to start charging.
Right.
And so, I'm going to pick up 10 or 20%. And by doing that, it's like, the battery anxiety is gone.
Agree. So thank you for asking that question. And there's a lot of other questions that people have about wireless charging. We're happy to address those if it's helpful to anyone out there. So please put in the comments below or send an email through our website asking us any questions you have about wireless charging, and we'd be happy to address those and give you kind of that scientific base behind it so that you understand the physics and the real electrical engineering elements of what's going on in these systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you.